Welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole, a situational awareness of the dark web, presented today for you by Micki Boland, myself. I am a checkpoint security architect and evangelist with the Checkpoint's office of the CTO. I'm pleased to be here presenting to you. First thing we want to do is talk about the agenda. So we have about 45 minutes. There is a moderator that will be taking questions after. This is a pre-recorded presentation. So if you have any questions, please hold them for the moderator. We'll give time for the moderator to answer any questions. So we're going to go down in the rabbit hole. The agenda for today is basically taking a deeper look at the dark web architecture. Today we'll really focus on what is to be found on this platform. So you'll hear dark web, you'll hear darknet, they're the same thing. There's quite an interesting history about the whole darknet, and we'll touch on that, and hopefully I'll inspire you to go out and study some more on your own. And if you want to talk about any of these technologies or anything under the hood or the history, I'd love for you to reach out to me on LinkedIn. The third thing we'll talk about are the technologies underlayment in the dark net, and what is the dark web, and how is blockchain really kind of changed the whole dynamics. It's even further than blockchain. That was a mega step, but now there's all kinds of Bitcoin mining mixers and lots of things to do to actually remove traceability of blockchain and Bitcoin, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about syndicates, collaboration, and execution. So a couple of things, there are some sensitive pieces in this. I won't talk about certain things, and just be aware that as you read them, there are plenty of legitimate folks that just want privacy on the dark web. There's also some really bad actors and criminal organizations and others that are exploitive. So we will not talk about those. We will talk about drug marketplaces and stuff, and hacking marketplaces, because Rent a Hacker is a big part of this for cybersecurity. So Carl Sandburg said that life is like an onion. Life is like an onion. The more you peel one layer off at a time, and sometimes you weep. And I guess that's a good one. I actually put some hyperlinks right in this presentation, so you guys can copy paste them or grab them from the presentation, so you can go and look at. Don't go to any of these until you get set up with Brave and Tor browser. We'll talk about that in a few. All right, so in the beginning, well, let's go back. Let's talk about who uses a dark net. So everybody thinks it's so evil. There's all bad people. There are a lot of legitimate uses for the dark net. Normal people use Tor. They use the dark net. They just want to protect their privacy. I don't know if you guys know, but if you have Google open and you do a Google search and then you go check your Gmail account, you will find out that everything that you search for, there's all kinds of things in your email, because they're scraping a lot of kind of information from your browser and cookies and things that you visit. They're actually popping that into your Gmail with all kinds of offers and marketing stuff. Why do people just want to be out of that? The other thing is people want to research sensitive topics, and they do not want to be subjected to surveillance, and that's completely legitimate as well. There are also people that want to protect their identity. So those are just normal people. Other normal people are journalists and their audience that use Tor. They are Reporters Without Borders, citizen journalists. In China, a lot of these folks will use Tor and the dark net to avoid censorship. Citizens and journalists that want to research non-state controlled media, and they don't have any way of getting past the geo firewall that the nation state is putting up. And also citizens that are just trying to be whistleblowers and they don't want reprisal. Law enforcement uses darknet. They do a lot of online surveillance. There's like big three-letter agencies. There's intelligence agencies of all manner, Interpol, and a lot of other groups together that work together that do sting operations across the globe. And then they actually also host an option for people to give fully anonymous crime tips, like 2 open hotlines for crime tips. And then activists and whistleblowers use Tor. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Friends, Service Committee, and environmental groups, they want to avoid censorship. Business executives use Tor. Security breach information, they want to go see if in these clearinghouses, if their organization is actually being sold, their information. They want to see what their competitors are doing in the marketplace, and they don't want to reveal that they are looking at their competitor. And sometimes they just want to keep things internal, and they don't want things to be leaked. So privacy there is super huge. Bloggers use Tor and the darknet. Global Voices is one. They blog without reprisals. Electronic Frontier Foundation is another. Military. So this was actually originally a Navy lab build for Tor, the Onion network, or Onion routing. The military was using it first for field agencies, and also they can provide military command and control and secure like physical environments from being taken down. So like alternate routing, an alternate network that they can always have up and running, and then they can use it for intelligence gathering. And then IT pros. So like yourselves, besides cybersecurity, IT professionals use Tor to verify their IP-based firewall. They try to bypass their own security. So like red teams will actually use dark web to go in there and see how they can access customer environment or bypass security. Also, if there's a crisis and you have an outage, Tor can provide a way of kind of routing around an outage, and that is a very practical use, but is not well known. The other thing is people that want to buy stuff that they don't want anyone to know. Like they would go out in the middle of nowhere and exchange cash. But in this case, they can use Bitcoin or Bitcoin exchanges or BitMixers. They don't want traceability to them for things that they're purchasing. So I'll also say, that's all legitimate use. It's all manageable, makes sense. There's a lot of bad stuff too. So beware of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: terrorists, drug dealers, kidnappers, and all manner of exploitation of humans, kids, animals. You don't want to go there, so trust me. All right, so how did the dark web get started? There's a lot of cool history, actually. It actually started as a U.S. Navy laboratory project, as I mentioned. Their main goal was to create an internal channel for the intelligence community to be able to communicate. There was also a lot of stuff going on with these, like, pretty good privacy and these, they were called crypto punks, and people that were looking for, they're like libertarians, they're looking for like non-intervention by anyone, freedom of speech and freedom of action, and those guys were also interested. But this was actually a U.S. Navy funded research, and it was in the 1990s. 3 people were involved primarily with the working design that's become onion routing. The onion routing is David Goldschlag, Michael Reed, and Paul Syverson. And then in 2002, they had a couple MIT guys join, Roger Dingledine and Nick Mathewson. So in 2004, about Tor, so the onion routing, darknet, dark web was actually released as open source. It was maintained by its community. And then Electronic Foundation Frontier, it's an organization that promotes freedom of speech, and it also feels that, that's the way to do it, is through the darknet. They were a big funder, and also BBG and Zcash is now another offender. There's a whole alternate universe kind of going on in the dark web. And if you guys go back and look at your history, look at .alt, all the people that started doing that stuff to avoid like when the web was becoming the web. So it's kind of interesting. All right, so in the beginning, what is Tor? So Tor stands for the onion routing. It is a gateway into the darknet. It's actually software that, and very brilliant, it allows anonymous communications. And basically, you don't have to be tech savvy to use it. You can get a browser or a Tor plugin, or you can create your own Tor device, like a gateway, to connect you to the Tor network. You can use a Raspberry Pi. Adafruit makes a thing called the Onion Pie. You guys check it out. So awesome. There's a script that basically you can just bridge yourself, and then there's no artifacts on your machine at all. There's nothing on your machine that shows you the little Raspberry Pi or Onion Pie. Basically is your connection device. It's pretty cool. But basically, you don't have to be super tech savvy. The underlayment of how it was all created is pretty cool, but for you, you don't have to be. So you can get DuckDuckGo, and you can use Brave. So DuckDuckGo is a search engine. That's a private search engine. I use Brave. It's a browser that uses DuckDuckGo, or you can pick there are other search engines besides the ones, and we're not going to say who they are, that everyone knows, that's constantly grabbing lots of information about you. But you can use Brave. You can search with DuckDuckGo as a search engine, and then you can use Tor plugin for Brave. The other option is a thing that's called Candle, and it's actually a Tor browser plugin, and you can do onion search using Candle. I don't use it, but if you want to see where to go on the dark web, it is not indexed. We're going to talk about that in a second. So you have to know the onion address, and it looks different than what you're used to. We'll see that in a second. The other thing is, if you want to see this is a tip for you, if you want to get some OSINT, like open source intelligence on the darknet, you can get from Hunchly. You can go sign up for Hunchly. They have an OSINT daily report. And with that daily report, you'll get a link, and you click on it. It takes you to download an Excel workbook, and it's not. I definitely scan it for malware every time, but I scan mine with Checkpoint, endpoint security and our malware blades, and he's good to go. But all the sites that are up and down, you can actually get an index there, which is pretty good. There's some other ways you can go about that as well. So begin at the beginning, the dark web evolution. So index versus non-index pages. Over here on the left, you see, if you search for the dark web, you can go read all about it. And there's all this, let's see, our media's sources today can be it's all pay-per-click. It's getting people to click. It's getting people to share on social media. So there's going to be lots of interesting, dun dun dun, scary stuff to go and read about the dark web. But this doesn't take you to the dark web. When you go into a Google search, you can see how many dark web hits you'll get. If you really want to go to the dark web, you need Brave. You need the Tor plugin for Brave. Use DuckDuckGo, and you need an indexing site that basically has links for you, because, well, I'll take it back. They're not indexed. So you have to know the link that you want to go, because people don't always know the links, and if they're searching for something, they will not know the link to go to. You can actually go to the hidden wiki, and I put the hyperlink here. Basically, you want to go to this in the .onion network, and you can go to this hidden wiki. Now, from there are links that you can go and browse. I will tell you, I don't use this. I get the Hunchly report, I get the Excel, I copy paste the Tor place I want to go from my from the Excel workbook into my Tor browser, and that's how I go. I don't use any of this. And just know there are some things about your privacy that you need to know when you're navigating, these hidden wikis. I'll just leave it at that for now. So they're by categories. Obviously, on our regular web, everything, people register for like, domains, and, they're registered with the internet and ICANN, and everybody knows, and they have records and DNS. We don't have that at all. So again, no indexing whatsoever. The only way you're going to be able to get to a place is that you know what the actual onion address is, like it's showing here. So if you don't know where you're going, any road can take you there. So I'm going to just take a minute. I don't want to get, like, I guess it could get pretty technical. I don't want to get too technical, but I do want you guys to understand that this is not VPN. VPN has its uses, and VPN is very good for, for communications, or trusted channel communications, but it is not private. So when you connect via VPN, the people that are providing the VPN and the ISP and everyone knows who you are and where you're connected, and they can trace your IP, and they know all that stuff. So it is, while it is trusted channel, it doesn't really have privacy. In the thing of darknet and Tor, privacy is the ultimate goal. So you don't want anyone looking at your communication headers. You don't want anybody to be able to use traffic analysis to spy on your communications. And the ultimate goal is to obfuscate and to keep your communications private, where you're coming from and where you're going. So if you kind of think of, you see all these crime movies and somebody's surveilling someone in their car, and the person keeps on taking all these turns. These people that do masterful, defensive driving for military and for law enforcement, they're able to, kind of tail people that don't know what's going on. But for the savvy ones, they will do everything they can to avoid, where they're going and try to lose the people that are tailing them. So you can kind of think of Tor as being kind of like that. Okay, the cool thing about Tor and the darknet is, while it is not VPN, there is encryption at every step. So basically, I put on here this Tor encryption. The cipher is AES 128. And basically, every step that you go through, every node, you're encrypted again. So between nodes, you're encrypted. So you start out here with this user. The user is the person that's initiating their request from their Tor browser. And basically, the second entity is, the next node. So we have the person sitting here, they hit an entry node into the Tor. The Tor browser has a list of like the entry nodes, and it's going to go to 1. From then on, you can hit any relay node. This guy in the middle, he only knows about these guys. He doesn't know about the communication string, and he doesn't know anything about the user. So the relay node knows nothing, basically. He just knows to transfer to the packet to the next hop. And then the exit node is probably the most interesting. So the exit node is marked red in this because this is where you have to exit the Tor network. You have to go out, and you actually have to hit this resource that you use the onion, the actual onion address to get to. So from that exit node here to that end, you're basically unencrypted here. But the rest of this is encrypted. So you do have to consider that there are, that when you hit this I'm going to say the last bit, so that you're going to exit unencrypted and hit this node, that you will actually then be vulnerable for, some privacy. And there's some things that we can we can talk about there. So basically, you have a private, network pathway in Tor. It's all encrypted. The circuit is extended one hop at a time. For that it is slow. No one ever knows like the relay that they're going through, so no one knows the complete packet. No one really knows, the full communication strength. And then each hop is responsible for negotiating a set of encryption keys, so that ensures that each hop can't trace these communications as they pass through. The last thing I want to say is, let's see, what else do I want to say? It is a complex encryption system. So again, the fact that you might say, well, that's kind of a weak cipher, but each node is encrypting. So this is the kind of the beauty of Tor. Also, Tor does not assume any trust. So the idea is that trust nothing, does not share identity, and therefore the privacy. All right, so the chain of kind of the Tor. So you start off here, you hit the entry node. Basically, you're encrypted. So your privacy with your Tor browser, you're encrypted. He hits a relay node that's available. He's re-encrypted. He finds the next, exit node, whatever exit node. He's re-encrypted. Then from leaving the exit node out to the Tor, the onion site, you're basically unencrypted from this last piece. So the exit node, he sees the request in the destination website. So you have to kind of think about that. That exit node could be potentially a place where somebody might try to figure out who's visiting and what that site is, right? So this is where like maybe spying or network surveillance could be taking place. The Tor relay circuits, they randomly reset every 10 minutes. So your actions can never be linked to anything the right things in your communications. Also, that you should know that there are law enforcement agencies and others that are hosting this onion resource, not the network, but this last resource. So people have gone to sites and think they are visiting something like a murder for hire or a drug marketplace, and they could indeed be communicating with a resource that is owned and basically managed by the CIA or law enforcement or some other. Also, bad guys. Lots of bad guys like to sit here just to take money from people. So once you connect on Tor, again, I use Brave in the Tor plugin. You can get it also for like Android, and basically just pick your operating system. There is a recommendation that if you could run this from like a virtual machine, it would be smart. There are some ways to scrape some stuff off of your browser, even so, or off of your machine. So this is how you would connect, and then you can see what your IP address is when you're connected using IP Chicken. But you can see he can actually see some stuff about your machine, and you really don't want anything about your machine. So there's some things you can do, and we'll talk about that in a few, to actually running a virtual machine is one way to avoid showing anything about your real machine. And then you can use IP leak to see what you're leaking. So the Brave Tor configuration, he basically does auto cancellation of JavaScript. You don't want JavaScript. No browsing history. Cookies are deleted as soon as the browser is shut or closed, and then it provides additional privacy enhancement. And then there's a recommendation not to open your Brave Tor browser in 100 in full screen, so that it can't do like scrape on your machine settings. You don't want it to do data resolution and display area, so if you want to stay anonymous. There's one thing too about tour etiquette, because this is slow. It is not fast. It is slow. There is you're not supposed to use P2P, so downloading or torrenting. You're not supposed to do that. I guess, for the people that use Tor a lot, it's means you will lose face if you do that. It would be considered very poor etiquette on the Tor network. The other thing that you should know is sometimes that there will be exit nodes that are blocked. They will be like Cloudflare, or they will be blocked based on things that they see. So sometimes you will try to get to an exit place and they'll be blocked, and this is happening more and more with security measures. So customers from their corporate network, they don't necessarily want their people. They see Tor exit nodes, they can think that's against corporate policy or it's nefarious activities. Okay, a little bit about the exit relay. So this is so at this point you could go, if you're just using Tor to kind of obfuscate, keep your stuff private. You could go to a public website from there, or you can go to a resource that is it's an onion. It's an actual resource on the dark net. This can be the dangerous point. It's the only station in the circuit that knows the web that you're accessing. So it knows what resource that when you exit, what resource you're going to. That hop is seen in clean traffic, and this is the last layer of the circuit. So if you're actually, there are people that host these nodes. So if you're hosting an exit relay, there's all kinds of and a lot of people do it just to be nice, right? It's just what they do. And there's also people that are watching stuff. But basically, they want that exit relay to have a dedicated client, and they want to ensure that there's multiple exit relays, and who's moderating it. They want to make sure that basically the moderator is doing the things within accordance of the rules for hosting an exit node in Tor. The more there is of mine, the less there is of yours. So dark node's node paradigm reveal the man behind the keyboard. So the architecture is really great. For someone who wishes to collect information about hosts, it's the last bit is where you can really take advantage of finding out who's connecting to what resources. Not who, I'm sorry. So basically this last node, this exit node, this is where this is where law enforcement and other parties may want to gain visibility into what this place that the person is going. They would know the identity. They can do some backtracking, and of course, all of these agencies have, really significant and savvy ways of doing backtracking. Can be artifacts that are left behind by the person, but theoretically, it's difficult to do traceability, but law enforcement can actually see what's going on. So they may want to see, what is going on with this last place. And where there's an example is WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden. I guess he was, because of that exit node, when he exited, everything that he sent was unencrypted, that he uploaded or sent to WikiLeaks was then unencrypted. So law enforcement and the CIA and all of the people working together, the parties that were working on it, they were able to see what was being sent and to WikiLeaks directly, and it was all unencrypted. So these are actually authentic slides from an example of a leaker presentation. All right, so known exploits reveal the man behind the keyboard, a little bit more about GCHQ. So if you want to see some cool stuff about GCHQ is super cool. This is like a big government. It's like the equivalent of the US CIA in the UK, and they're actually able to see quite a lot of stuff. If you want to see some really cool stuff on surveillance and intelligence agencies, go get this book. It's by James Bramford. James Bramford. It's titled The Puzzle Palace. It's a little bit old now, but you'll actually get a really good insight about how the intelligence agencies have expanded, and before they were able to tap into oceanic copper cables, now they're able to use taps on fiber optics. It's just amazing. So in a similar way, the GCHQ is able to see all of the records of traffic going in and out of Europe. And the idea is that if there's a cyber attack, then they got like replay. They can see exactly what's going. They're actually mirroring all of the traffic. So they can see only HTTP, all encrypted data can't be seen. However, they know which IP goes into the Tor network, and they have quantum computing. And so they can get to the point where they can see the remote end, and they can probably do quite a bit of traceability. We'll leave it at that. There's also some really bad guys. This guy, I don't even want to really talk about this, but it's a real life example. This guy, his name is Eric Marquise. He was Freedom Hosting. He was one of the largest, the #1 child exploitation guy managed by Freedom Hosting. There was an explorer in Firefox, and that he was enticed to go to a specific website. When he clicked, he exposes his nickname, and that's how they were able to catch him. All right, so what is to be seen on the dark web? Again, there's good and there's bad, as we talked about. This is also a fascinating thing you should definitely check out. I read this book by, her last name's Ormsby. It's called the Silk Road, and it's actually the history of the Silk Road. This Texan guy, who's like in his 20s, created like the largest drug marketplace, and that's started on the darknet, and was the marketplace for everyone to go and get drugs of every kind, illegal, legal, pharmaceuticals, and then they started doing other marketplace stuff. Silk Road was the place to go. It's obviously been shut down for quite a while, but there are other places to go look for content. So I'll show you a little bit more. This is an example. You think, okay, it's all bad stuff. Well, there is bad stuff, and then there's also like commercial entities are using this as well for like privacy. So New York Times, BBC, Facebook has a dark net, and you can see that it's an onion. It's an onion address. You have to know where to go, but you can get your news anonymously. The other thing is you can also get quite a bit of information about like what the CIA is doing. There's also stories about GCHQ that help the authorities track down people. What else do I want to say here? So these things are there. You just have to know the actual onion address. There's also lots of other things. You can buy stolen gift cards. So in that hidden market, you can go and get stolen gift cards, counterfeit money. Again, you have to know the actual onion address. And these are stores. Some of these are legitimate, and some of them are totally not. And a lot of times the way you pay for these things is with, of course, Bitcoin, Bitcoin mixed up, or money transfers from Western Union. And so the idea is that before Bitcoin got really big was, you could do Western Union transfers and it would be difficult to trace back who was doing purchase. They also have a way in the dark net of people getting together and meeting to exchange cash. Also, you can buy all kinds of pharma. Again, now all of this is Bitcoin, or some like Monero or some other type of cryptocurrency, or a mixed crypto. And there's everything that you could possibly imagine. So, stimulants, drugs. They actually are super, they do ratings to say how good they are, so that they're guaranteeing satisfaction. Most of these you have to have a login. So once you do that, you're taking another step of actually revealing your identity. A lot of these you have to do a login, and then you're at the mercy of the people. Most people that go in here and order stuff, they'll use anonymous logins. They'll only use that one login for that one and that username for that one specific thing. If they reuse it, you can be traced. But the other thing is that these guys are actually doing, like, they care about quality and they care about shipping, and there are escrow accounts where there's an escrow person that's running the marketplace that ensures delivery. And if you don't get your products, then they will actually take action, and there are vendors that list their products on this marketplace. So it's very interesting. The escrower, whoever's running the marketplace, they get like a big chunk of change for doing that, and all of it is cryptocurrency. Again, no one can really track the packages, although I think they're doing quite a lot of getting stuff at the last mile. I'll just say that. There's also been people that actually have ordered guns. A Munich guy in 2019, he bought his gun off the dark web. And this is a quick video. There it is.
חקירה של משטרת ישראל.
Also other things. So you want a passport, you need fake IDs, fake citizenship documents. Boom. Again, cryptocurrency. Let's see, you can get a U.S. citizenship first payment. First payment, $1,000. And it looks like it's $5,000 total. And so these are more expensive. This could be super serious. I mean, half the time, the thing is, you don't know necessarily, unless it's a trusted darknet site, like they're doing, there's an escrower and they're actually doing quality control. You don't know if you're going to pay this money, if you'll ever get anything. There are a lot of people that are faking stuff or giving fake products that what people don't expect. Or they're just taking their money. I read a book, there's a book that I'll talk about in a few, that there's the darkest part is like they have these fake like murder for hire sites, and basically the guy that was running this one was just taking people's money, and then he was extorting them because they would like ask for delivery and he would never do it. He said that he was taking these people out of the by giving them something to do, he was taking them out of actually doing it. He was going to take all their money from them and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. You can also find a hacker. You want a hacker for service? Hacker as a service, there you have it. You won't get the exploit kit. You can say, I want to do this, and they will go do it, or they'll take your money and not do it, but they say they will do it. You don't get the exploit kit. It's basically, you get the hacker, and he or she, the person will take it on. The other thing is, this is like, you want to hack a Facebook account. Was it $300 US? And they even gave a coronavirus discount. So I tried to look for the coronavirus discount. I couldn't find it, but supposedly at that time they did the screen capture. There was actually a coronavirus discount. So another disturbing thing, don't go look these up if you guys do. Well, first of all, I think I couldn't find any. I'm on tour looking through sites. I couldn't find any mystery boxes anymore. I think that maybe the fad is over. It was going on and was really big in, I think, UK and Australia. But basically, in some in the US, so people would order these mystery boxes. They have no idea what's in it. They pay with cryptocurrency. In the mystery box, they get stuff. And then they would go and film this on YouTube and get all their little friends and everybody to basically watch. And some of these are like super disturbing. I wouldn't, even Netflix has some, and YouTube, they have some people opening the mystery boxes. I would even be careful. I wouldn't even watch it, you guys. It'll totally freak you out. And you don't really know if it's somebody just, creating something creepy. They're very creepy stuff. They try to infer there's broken smartphone with creepy videos or photos on it, knife with blood, USB sticks hidden in like stuffed animals and stuff. Don't do it. Just don't. If you want to check out the movie, I think there's a 2020 mystery box movie. I don't know. It wasn't ever released, but I would say that was like I think you can go look for on the internet, and I think it's like a legitimate, motion picture. Maybe I would look at that. And that's it. There's additional communications for like, things that you want to do, customer reviews, how to make money, all kinds of things there. And again, there's like usually a buyer, a seller, and then there's an escrow person that's kind of in the middle, but no one knows who each other are, which means it's just ripe for people taking people's money and never actually fulfilling. But people do ratings just like you do on Amazon. Hey, I like my product. Can you give me a customer rating, a review, and give the stars rating? So it's pretty crazy. And you'll see this quite a bit. So now we're getting into like more of the cybersecurity perspectives. And these are like these are criminal enterprises on the dark net. So as we talked earlier, a bunch of people are running their actual professions on the dark net. There's legitimate legal departments, law enforcement, even banking and financial sector. A book you should check out. There's actually two. This book is called The Dark Net. It's a couple years old. The author is Jamie Bartlett, and you can You can go check out his book. He kind of goes inside the digital underworld. He's written for Spectator and some other magazines. He's in publications. He's really great as being an open, non-judgmental, non-political journalist. I thought he collected quite a lot of information about legitimate professionals that are on the dark net and how they actually do research there. And then this other lady, her name's Eileen Ormsby. She's written Silk Road, which is the original kind of the original drug marketplace. She's really awesome. And then The Darkest Web. The Silk Road book's a little bit old. Obviously, the Silk Road's been shut down, but The Darkest Web is good. There's a chapter that's on the darkest, and I'm not sure that I'd caution anyone that's sensitive about some of the things you will read on that. So let's talk about like the rise of crypto. So this is like the hugest part that we want to talk about is how dark web and blockchain technologies became like a driving force for adoption of the dark web. Bitcoin and Monero. But there's also lots of other things to talk about. So if you think about the actual dark net, there's a financial aspect. All these transactions need to be executed, and both parties, so the buyer and the seller, need to be anonymous. That's the whole point of it. But as I mentioned before, there's always a middleman. Well, typically there's a middleman. There's an escrow person in the middle. They run the marketplace platforms, and they have quite a bit of knowledge about not necessarily specifically the traceability of the people, but they know what they're paying for because they get a cut, and they also know from the logins. Sometimes they know the actual pseudonames of the buyers. So they started with kind of, this concept of, making payments with web money, and it quickly turned into needing some banks for the dark web. And then we came to, web money, and they call it dark wallets, which are like where you can hold money to exchange for goods and services on the dark net. These rapidly kind of turned into areas of attacking by law enforcement, and also people that are interested in money laundering and so forth. So they needed another way. There's actually quite a lot of stuff still going on with money mules and so forth, but basically the next step was web money. From web money and digital currency was towards blockchain and Bitcoin. You will see domains that have been seized due to illicit financials and all kinds of craziness. And that's what the people that are buying goods and services and the ones selling goods and services on the dark net are trying to avoid. So Bitcoin became the preferred methodology for payment in the dark net. It was the golden era for the dark net. And the idea is to keep the buyer's anonymity. So Bitcoin, if you guys study blockchain and stuff, it's basically really cool. If you said that it's not perfect, obviously. There's a complex calculation. You put it in your wallet. You still have to get like regular currency, like currency that's in circulation. You have to get currency in to buy Bitcoin. So you have to be able to buy Bitcoin, and that's traceable to, like your banking accounts. And then basically once you have a Bitcoin, it has its own Bitcoin number that's associated with it. And so at some point in time in the transaction, it's possible to trace the Bitcoin back to a person, either at the conversion of physical or, financial system monies, currency into Bitcoin, or at the purchase part of the Bitcoin. So then basically there was a need to be able to mix some things up. So one, you could actually buy Bitcoins online, and then, or you could go buy them face to face from people. They actually had a local Bitcoin solution where you could go in and go face to face and give cash to somebody that would do the transaction for the Bitcoin, and then they would put that Bitcoin in your dark wallet. And there was really a lot of money laundering going on there, lots. And there was also the people that were doing this were getting a cut, like any currency, trader, right? Somebody that's converting currency from one currency to another. So the other thing was to reserve like anonymity. I can't say it. Was used a thing called Bitcoin mixing. So basically, taking multiple sources of Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency money, and actually mixing it together. So there are pieces of different things that are in the wallet that can be used, and it's really difficult to then trace that back. So there's a couple cryptocurrency things you can look at: Monero, Bitcoin, Zcash. Zcash actually makes Zcash is a big um, funder and foundational member of the Onion Network, or the Tor. And so dark web, and aka darknet, is like a really lucrative place for them. Dash and Verge, there's some new ones, and they're constantly coming out with new ones. But you'll see that not every cryptocurrency is the same. So for Bitcoin, it's not really private. It's not really fungible. It is decentralized. Monero is private, fungible, and decentralized. So, they're trying to be able to make it very difficult to trace the buyer, seller, and also the escrow person, and also pretty much any traceability back to the origination of that cryptocurrency. All right, now let's talk about some bad actors in darknet. This is the last bit of our journey down the rabbit hole. So there's some really interesting characters, but this is coming now to, how is this really relevant to cybersecurity? And actually, there was an organization that on the darknet that actually used Locky ransomware to launch and execute massive global cybersecurity attacks. And I guess maybe you can say some of these people have a conscience, like, they won't perpetrate activity on certain groups. They have a heart somewhere, I guess. And maybe that's goodwill. I don't know. No attacks on health institutions until full stabilization of the coronavirus. But yeah, these guys actually will perpetrate attacks. So the life of a hacker in the darknet, there's a full operational life cycle. So this is enterprise crime. If you talk to the FBI, if you guys are part of InfraGard, a lot of these guys that do, it's all about money. It's about fraud. Typically, it's financial fraud, and it's just done via, extortion, financial fraud. It's done via cyber instead of like holding people up or, terrorizing them physically. They're holding their files ransom, right? So Locky is an example. These guys are enterprise criminals, so they're really good. In this enterprise crime organization, they have people that actually code, they have people that manage, they have financial managers and everything. Here's an example of, let's see, these guys were the Zeus, the Russian hacking group that perpetrated Zeus. You guys know Zeus is a very infamous banking Trojan. These guys launched DDoS attacks on bank platforms. And what they were trying to do is they wanted to see the time that it took for the approval cycle for certain transactions, and they wanted to force their transactions to go forward. There was a client side, a server side, a research guy, a DevOps team, a financial team that was responsible for moving deposits and money. So there's like a kind of a food chain, if you will. And this organized, enterprise kind of organized crime, cybercrime, there's a kingpin that's kind of running everything. And a lot of times these guys, well, they won't be what you necessarily expect. They could be super young, they could be super brilliant and super nefarious. But they've got the whole thing going. They have an operations manager, they have a technical manager that's directing like the coders and the exploit kits. They have a money operation manager, so they have a whole financial suite that's responsible for mules, tracking like their conversion, the money that they're bringing in, and then they have to be able to manage the money that they get, and that's exchangers and bit mixing service. So they use cryptocurrency mixing services. The operation manager is responsible for actually kind of traceability for the exploit kits that are launched and then how successful they are. There's quite a lot of stuff going on here. And then they have brokers that are actually selling, they're underground selling forums, and they're getting a cut of all of this. So it's pretty interesting. For the kingpin, think of Pablo Escobar, right, in cyber. Actually, I read a book called El Narco, and it changed my life forever. You guys should read it, about some of the major drug pins, and it's absolutely insane. But these guys want to remain anonymous. They don't want to be taken down. Even they're an enterprise, they're trying to hide their activities. They definitely do not want to be taken down, and they do quite a lot of R&D. Like this technical manager, their R&D is very, they're using agile development. Let's just say that. They also have people that that's all they do, is they develop phishing kits, exploiter kits, and hacking tools. These aren't the same necessarily as these people that are doing like hacker as a service. They could be though, but these are normally like the ones that are more of enterprise cybercrime. So for Lockheed, the ransomware was spread via spam or exploit kit. They used their team to develop their ransomware on the client side. They verified that it would be able to bypass AV engines. So they did a lot of testing, and basically part of their business model was to get as many computers infected as possible. The server side, which is the second part of the attack, was critical. They used ransomware operators and victims that would need to submit the transactions and communicate via the server side. So that's the CNC side. DevOps was doing domain generation, URLs, VPN, jump server. They use like their IT operation just like any IT operation in a legitimate enterprise corporation. The financial team was doing the Bitcoin, converting Bitcoin to cash. And basically that's kind of the way that this was done as an ability for, enterprise cybercrime. They wanted high profile attacks with a lot of damage. So basically this demonstrates kind of like, the enterprise cyber criminal organization. They have the coder, IT servers, QA, IT, and automation, DevOps, and finance, just like a corporation. So this is a Lockheed example and request for Bitcoin. Why didn't they request Monero? As like complexity. Asking the victims to get Bitcoin. That person could be anywhere in the world, and Bitcoining is much easier, and they also had financial models based on Bitcoin. Well, that's it. That was down the rabbit hole. It's a wonder that you made your way out. So I do appreciate you guys joining, spending the time. Stay safe. If you guys do journey to the darknet, if you don't know what you're doing, come and find somebody that has done it and is doing it. Get Brave browser with the Tor plugin, or use like an Onion Pi device, which is a Tor device, to jump on the Onion network, and then there's nothing on your computer and no traceability to your computer. Or use a virtual machine. If you do it on your own, make sure you disable Java. If you are communicating to any sites, I personally don't create any pseudonames and don't log into any of them, because as soon as you do, there are going to be hooks that are going to be placed on you, and they use all kinds of relay mail and secure mail and things like that, but I wouldn't do it. Definitely not. And if you were going to do that, to do research, or if you're part of law enforcement, or journalist, make sure that you use a different pseudonym and account credentials for every place that you go. Make it unique every single time, because and you'll read, if you read the Ormsby book, you'll see that there's some stuff on the exit, the marketplace person that's doing escrow. They have occasionally actually extorted people because they were able to find out that this person logged into different marketplaces. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And then there's all the legitimate stuff, and you just want to be private and keep your privacy. So keep all that in mind. I appreciate it. At Checkpoint, we secure your everything. Thank you again. My name is Micki Boland. I look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn. Have a great day.